Okay, so visualizing what we read is a great way to remember and understand what we read as we go through it. So today we're going to be reading a passage. We're going to be imagining what we read as we read it to help us understand. So before we get started, I'm going to cover some vocab. So we're going to come across the word Avernia. I struggle with it, but it's a river.
Okay.
So when you read that word, picture a river. And then we'll come across reverberate, which means a loud noise that happens over and over. So I'm going to start by reading a couple of sentences and sharing with you the images I create when I read it. I spent the following day roaming through the valley. I stood beside the sources of the Avarinon, which take their rise in a glacier that with the slow pace is advancing down from the summit of the hills to barricade the valley. The abrupt sides of the vast mountain were before me. The icy wall of the glacier overhung me. A few shattered pines were scattered around, and the solemn silence of this glorious presence chamber of imperial nature was broken only by the brawling waves of the fall of some vast fragment. The thunder sound of the avalanche, or the cracking, reverberated along the mountains of the accumulated ice, which through the silent working of the immutable laws was ever and anon rent and torn, as if it had been but a plaything in their hands. So believe it or not, that's only like 3 sentences.
Really?
Yeah, it's very wordy. So when I read that, I pictured a man in the mountains, and it was winter, and there was glaciers, and there was a source of a river.
Okay.
And he was describing how the sounds made it feel like he was up there all by himself and that things were untouched and that it was like created by the gods. So let's practice doing some sentences together.
Okay.
So let's start off where we left. Go ahead and start at these.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
These sublime and magnificent scenes afforded me the greatest consolation that I was capable of receiving. These elevated me from all littleness of feeling, and although they did not remove my grief, they subdued and tranquilized it.
Tranquilized.
Sorry.
Okay. So what do we picture when we read that?
I don't know. I just kind of, I guess I have imagery of like just appreciation of nature.
Yeah, and
Obviously
feels,
a person.
Yeah, and he feels better.
Yeah, obviously
being
a
in nature.
person appreciating nature, which means they must be there
Yeah.
in the sublime scenes.
Yes. All right. So now I'm going to ask you to read a passage. I will show you where to start and I will tell you where to stop.
Okay.
After we're done with that passage, I'd like you to summarize it.
Okay.
And as you read it, use the imageries in your mind to help understand what you're reading.
Okay.
And to like connect to the story. I think it's the best way I can
So
describe
you want
it.
me to do the same thing except...
Yeah, on your own.
Okay, got it.
All right, so let's start. Let me find it. At in some degree.
Okay. In some degree, also they diverted my mind from the thoughts over which it had brooded for the last month. I retired to rest at night. My slumbers, as it were, waited on the ministered to by the assemblance of grand shapes which I had contemplated during the day. They congregated round me, the unstained snowy mountain top, the glittering pinnacle, the pine woods and ragged bare ravine, the eagle soaring amidst the clouds, they all gathered round me and bade me be at peace. Where had they fled when the next morning I woke? All of soul-inspiring fled with sleep, and dark melancholy clouded every thought. The rain was pouring in torrents, and thick mist hid the summits of the mountains, so that I even saw not the faces of those mighty friends. Still I would penetrate their misty veil, and seek them in their cloudy retreats. What were rain and storm to me? My mule was brought to the door, and I resolved to ascend to the summit of Monteverton. I remembered the effect that the view of the tremendous and ever-moving glacier had produced upon my mind when I first saw it. It had then filled me with a sublime ecstasy that gave wing to the soul and allowed it to soar from the obscure world to light and joy. The sight of the awful and majestic in nature had indeed always the effect of solemnizing my mind, and causing me to forget the passing cares of life. I determined to go without a guide, for I was well acquainted with the path, and the presence of another would destroy the solitary grandeur of the scene.
Okay.
So, I picture a man, not a woman. Just sounds like a man talking. So I picture him going on. He's in a journey, and he's traveling by himself. So it sounds like kind of like a journal, obviously, because he's writing. And I picture
And what happened in the passage we read?
well, he went to bed. He found a place to rest. So he went to bed and he dreamt about the things he had saw. And then he woke up, and didn't he say that he didn't see them anymore? They had left him. And so yeah, I picture a man waking up and seeing the things he didn't see in his dream, I guess.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
So what in the past had always comforted him?
The sublime nature.
Nature. Yeah. That's mainly what the passage is about.
He's talking about nature.
Yeah. So based on what we read, can we guess why he's on this journey?
To see it?
To see it. Yeah. And to escape, he's running from something.
Yeah, he fled there because it brings him comfort.
Yes. Would you just go ahead and read it quietly to yourself and see if there's anything that you missed?
Starting it
right here. Yeah. So just go ahead and
just randomly a few or something.
No, just tell me how you feel about your summary after you reread it. Do you feel like you did a good job and you got all the main points?
There's some things I didn't notice.
Like what?
I don't know if this is true, but it sounds like he's dying.
What in the passage made you picture him dying?
Well, it kind of confused me with how he's talking about him dreaming, he falls asleep, but then he talks about how nature cleaves him with the worries of life and how, I don't know.
He just seems really distressed.
He sounds like he's like, they guided me and took my souls upon wings.
Yeah, he sounds distressed, and so he could be dying.
It sounds like he went up there to die.
Yeah, we didn't read enough to know.
Yeah, so that's just what I get from it. Like, it just
Yeah.
sounds otherworldly. Like, it doesn't sound like he's...
Well, this is...
Or it just sounds like he's dreaming the entire time.
Yeah,
Like, he's not there.
This is a passage from Frankenstein. And so it's after he creates the monster, and he feels really bad about it, and he flees into the mountains to try to clear his head. So that's what you're picking up on.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but that's right. Yeah, he's super sad.
He's
And
confused.
he's distressed.
Distressed.
Yeah. But good job.
Yeah. That makes sense now, because it's like, it's Frankenstein, and so he thinks he's like a god. I mean,
Yeah.
what's his name again? The man who creates him?
Frankenstein.
No, he creates Frankenstein.
No,
but
the monsters.
I know, I get that,
monster,
but like,
so
he
his
calls
name's,
the monster something else, right, in the book? But the guy who creates him?
the guy who creates it is named Frankenstein. The monster's just the monster.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's...
So it's Dr.
I read this my
Frankenstein.
senior year, so... so they call him the monster in the book.
Yeah.